That's why we created a video game that fully integrated the math curriculum. And just a couple of stats to support what Manisha is saying here. One study revealed that about 93% of US adults have expressed some level of anxiety in math. 93%. That is ridiculously high. And this starts young when folks are kids. Uh, in fact, this is one of the areas that Prodigy has spent some time on researching. So I'm going to pop up a slide here on the screen. We had done a study at Prodigy of kids who came into our product with low math enjoyment. So answered negatively to this question of I enjoy math. And we surveyed those same students 3 months after playing the game. We saw a huge and statistically significant impact on students saying that they now liked math after playing Prodigy for a little while. Anecdotally, we've also heard this from parents as well. And another piece of research to support that, when we conducted a survey with parents, that 7 out of 10 said that Prodigy helped reduce their child's math anxiety. So this is one of the key benefits of game-based learning and one of the big reasons that we started the company. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Manisha.
Yeah, thank you so much for adding that in. And just to kind of give you a sense of this idea of not being good at math or being good at math is just so culturally inherent that, I mean, I'm telling you, during the pandemic, I founded a nonprofit that's helped 500 students. I mean, we trained probably 500 volunteers to help 500 kids in math through the pandemic. And about half an hour ago, I was sitting in my room thinking like, oh my God, what business do I have leading a workshop about math education? I felt like I am a total fraud coming here and sharing these insights with you. I mean, and I think that's how deep these beliefs run. So just, what Rohan has created is so wonderful, but it's also just good to recognize that if you feel that way, you're not alone and you can still benefit people and help them learn math, even if you have those feelings. So just to kind of go along with this idea of Prodigy, I think one of the real benefits of the curriculum is it's mastery based. And if you're not familiar with mastery based learning, it's a concept that was coined by a scholar at MIT named Benjamin Bloom. And he found that students who are able to learn one-on-one at their own pace in a sequential way. So they're mastering foundations before moving on to the next step, learned 90% faster than children who are learning in a group setting. And the value of a well-designed math program where you have to really learn addition, multiplication, all of the basics before you move on to higher level math is that you don't have those gaps later on. And that can also address a lot of the issues with learning differences. And one thing I like about Prodigy is it is structured in a way to make sure that those fundamentals are mastered, and that can take away a lot of the stress of learning. So a lot of people brought up this thing of, okay, I don't feel like we have enough time to teach math, or the math is going so slow. And what I really want to encourage all of you to think about is that learning isn't linear. Like sometimes math is going to go really fast and sometimes it's going to go really slow. But most research shows that you are going to end up at the right place. And when I'm tutoring, occasionally I will ask a child a question and then I just wait and they're quiet. They don't actually even respond, or they might be running around doing something else entirely. Occasionally after a minute or two, I might say, okay, did you think about that? And then it's done. Maybe the next day they'll come back and they'll have had an insight, or it might be a month from them. But I think that sometimes as parents, we have this instinct to say like, did you hear the question? You know that. And we don't really give them that space for the seed to grow. And so I know that it's really hard when you feel like your child isn't learning as fast as their peers, or you're just stuck on the same dang multiplication principle for months. But as long as you're consistent and maybe pushing them a little bit, things will start to click. But the more you say like, come on, you know this, the more anxiety does tend to develop. So it's so hard to be patient sometimes, but I find just planting those seeds is so valuable. So I guess, yeah, the one thing I did really want to kind of dive in a little bit more with is this idea of learning with your child. So what that means is that you're really transparent about what you know and what you don't know. So, for example, I wanted to, I have this problem I pulled up in Prodigy here. Whenever you look at Prodigy, there's this little light bulb that gives you a tip. So, if you're not really sure what the answer is, you can look at the tip and you can read the tip together, or there's this little sound. This can be really great for a kid with dyslexia to hear it. And sometimes there's also a little video. So you can use that as a tip. And then instead of saying, trying to explain it to them, you can explore this concept together. Say, like, hey, I'm not really sure about that. Let's ask ChatGPT together. Let's Google it together. Let's see if we can find a video on YouTube together. And then even better, especially if you have a gifted child, you can circle back and you can have the child explain it to you. And that's the student as teacher technique. So always, if you really want to get that deep level of concept, ask a question, let your child ruminate, and then come back and have them teach it to you. Some of you asked about siblings, and that really is kind of a tricky one. We had to teach kids in groups during the pandemic. And in that case, depending on what your access to screens are, we found it was really valuable to have the kids start teaching each other. So all of the kids will be playing the game, and you're kind of working as a guide when they get stuck, guiding them along, occasionally popping in and saying, hey, can you explain that back to me? And the kids can get really excited about explaining concepts to each other as well. So that's something that we did a lot. There's also, so essentially, like kids are working independently, but then they're also chiming in and supporting each other, and they're watching the way that you're teaching them as you go. Okay. So those were kind of like the main basics that I wanted to go through. I guess we did actually cover quite a bit of what I was going to talk about as well. But I did also kind of want to go a little bit deeper into this idea of gifted and advanced math, because a lot of you are wondering, how do I support a gifted child? And again, it's really a matter of giving them that freedom to learn at their own pace with the right curriculum. Sometimes challenges with a gifted kid is they'll tend to either rush ahead and skip that understanding. And in that case, this student as teacher is so valuable. Just saying, like, can you please explain this to me? Ask questions, etc. And then on the inverse, sometimes children who are gifted get very frustrated if they get an answer wrong. And they're afraid to even try because they're so scared about getting it wrong.